Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
This is one of those days where we should just run like a repeat of my show because there's really not much going on in the world at all. Holy moly, folks. I'm actually I'm always glad to have Dan Schaefer joining us in studio. The half of Palatini, host of Tuesdays with Josie, available wherever you podcast. We were messaging late last week because I wanted to see if he wanted to come in last Friday, and he said no, but any day next week. So then he messaged me again this morning and nudged, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Please come in tonight. And I'm really glad for that. So
whenever
thank you, Dan.
You need me, I am here.
I appreciate it. Well, where were you coming from on Friday that you were, you said you were landing in
Arizona.
What were you doing in Arizona?
Our Jim's aunt was having a medical procedure, so we went out there to help with things, and it was 78 degrees
it was really just the weather?
Desert. No, it wasn't. We were helping, but yeah. No, it was good to be out and see everybody, but then back to reality here.
Back to reality.
Which is 60s here. Until tomorrow. And
well, today was like just only 52, I think was the high. 55 maybe? It wasn't 60. It might have felt like it might have, because it got so cold.
I finished my mom's outdoor decorations, and so that's done.
What do the mom's decorations, like, what's your situation?
They're super easy. It's literally just lights, a manger, and a couple of snowmen.
Is it a vintage manger, like plastic? Are there wood elements?
It's a wooden one,
Nice.
yeah.
All right.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Excellent.
How about you? Do you decorate?
We do very simple. I like to think of it as elegant, although our bows are from the dollar store.
Okay.
But, you can find some good things at the dollar store.
Yeah.
Just all white lights on our bush. On our hedges in the front. And then we have a big giant wreath lit with white lights with a red bow, and then the bush the hedge has red bows on it as well. Just very simple.
Cool.
And then, I will say, I know that inflatables, I'm back and forth on inflatables. I think the people that throw, like, things that aren't related to each other, like today, we saw this really elegant, and we've seen it a few weeks in a row, since Thanksgiving, sort of, that's 2 weeks, week and a half. Yeah. Really, those elegant sort of almost wicker reindeer that are lit from within, and sometimes they're painted like gold. And so we saw that last week, and we thought it looked really nice. Only today they put up one of the Minions as an inflatable next to it. Okay. Like, that kind of combination isn't really...
Well, also you have people who have those like giant skeletons that they just decorate for each holiday, which I don't hate it. I'm not going to lie.
I don't hate it. But the people that throw like all like unrelated, you have like the Simpsons and then Snoopy.
You gotta have
maybe it's cartoons. Like cartoons is fine. Yeah. But anyway. So we just have one glorious snowman. We call him Winston. Griffin named him. He is about. Yeah, he's about. I think he's like 18 or 19 years old now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, from I think he was from Costco.
Oh, crap. All right. Good quality.
Well, we also, if he gets a leak, we are always patching him up.
There you go.
He is named after, as you would imagine, Winston Churchill, because Griffin's a history buff.
Okay.
So that's the extent.
I love it.
Yeah. And then I have been, I'm talking about these things because I know there's so much going on.
We're just trying to avoid.
Let's talk about light things later. But, because let's switch to the news. Okay. Again, Dan Schaefer joining me in studio to guest co-host. When the news broke that a United Healthcare CEO had been assassinated ahead of a investors meeting last week in New York, I did not expect the kind of I didn't know he would. Honestly, that first day, much like too much of today, I was working, so I wasn't online. I wasn't following the news. I really was not. I didn't know all the stuff that happened, all the jokes that people were making. I didn't know they called him Robin Hoodie. I didn't know all that, and really grim jokes that people were making, like
prayers and deductibles,
that kind of stuff. Correct.
That's not. Yeah.
And I do think that there was actually one of the mistakes that we as Democrats continue to do, and I think because we saw those jokes, including me, right? I was like, I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to pile on. I don't want to seem like I'm being, just sort of, just unchristian to sort of, wish somebody harm. And I know a lot of people do. And I'm not going to edit you. I'm not going. I saw a lot of those posts. I just kind of, okay, that's what I didn't. I was neither here nor there. I do think it's a missed opportunity to go, look, the reason people are reacting this way, and it is grim, and people are making fun of it, it is because that's how bad our healthcare system is in this country. That the people between you and your providers are making way more money than first of all, the provider and the cost of your health. Ultimately, what it sounds like, part of the story I'm hearing is this young man, Luigi Mangione, I don't know how you say his name, but he lost his grandparents, both of his grandparents within years of each other, went to work for a healthcare physician. I don't know if he saw from the inside, like what the, sort of shenanigans that healthcare companies the extent that they'll go to, denying coverage. A lot of people die waiting for care. A lot of people lose loved ones. And so I think this is a moment for, and I shouldn't say opportunity, I don't know if I did say that, but it's a moment for people to harness the conversation and go, why are people reacting with glee? What is the basis of this? And it is our frustration, our outrage, our and the loss of hope for a lot of people when it comes to going to the doctor.
It is our right to be outraged, honestly. I don't condone violence in that respect of doing. I feel that there's ways for our voice to be heard in many other ways. But Joan was talking about this earlier. I think the number she said was 300,000 people go bankrupt from medical emergencies in this country. Every year. We are the only industrialized country where you can go bankrupt for getting sick.
Yes.
And also where they continually just deny. And everybody, they say, oh, it's not that great over in Europe because, like, if you need a knee replacement, you got to wait. I was like, okay, but knee replacement is not life-threatening, right? So if you have to wait a little bit because somebody needs a heart transplant, that's fine. Cool. Good deal. But it's covered. And you're not going to go back. You're not going to have, and you also get time off of work. You're not going to, it is a broken system. But however, I don't think that we need to be going in assassinating CEOs of healthcare companies where that is not going to change things, right? Those are algorithms and AI and all that. That's what's denying your claims. It's not the CEO that has anything to do with that.
Right. And the person that denies you, whether it's on the phone or in the office. Look, when Sarah Palin was John McCain's running mate, one of the things that seemed to get elevated was her whole conversation about death panels. They're deciding whether you live or die. She's not wrong. She wasn't wrong about that, but that wasn't the Democrats. It was the corporations, these healthcare companies. Because I knew that to be true. My father had stage 4 lung cancer, and he also had a extended thinning of the wall of his aorta. It was 4 centimeters, and they said that it might rupture. And the surgeons went in. They did a vascular examination, and they went up with like this, up through the veins in the groin, and they said that he needed to have stents. And the surgeon I spoke to said they had decided that it didn't seem worth the $40,000 surgery. Right now, first of all, stage 4, like there were a lot of elements to it, but like it was so blunt on the phone. Basically, we've decided that your father's life should end this way, was basically what they were telling us. It was not worth it. I said, if I had $40,000, I could have this surgery. They were like, yes, but we will not approve it to the insurance company. And again, there's a lot of different factors, but they've decided that this life will end this way. Yeah. That's just the bottom line. And that's my father's life. And it was very hard for me to hear that on the phone. They were very blunt about it. I don't know how they could have done it differently. That's why I started a company called With Kind Words, where moments like that to take a breath, because I also have I have to take care of myself. I have to take care of my dad, be there for my mom.
I'm sorry, Declan has.
Well, this was 2001 before.
But yes, but still, the insurance system is.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
So, I get all these frustrations and outrage, and we should be. I have said for a long time, before we elected 45 in 2016, I have said that healthcare is a crisis of our generation. And to your point about people who travel and the healthcare system, the socialized healthcare system, I have at least 2 friends I can think of who. One was traveling in Ireland, and she had a near-death infection, and like her system went into failure. She went to a hospital. They would put her in a coma to recover from it, and like there were hardly any charges for her. Right?
I had a friend in Germany. She was studying abroad, and she had an issue. She was in the hospital for a week. Literally, the bill was $5. Right. It was state-of-the-art care, and it was great. And it was $5.
That was it. My friend couldn't believe it at all. And so and I don't know how, we're not more, we haven't been more outraged. It's not even like we're the frog in the water as you turn up the heat.
Right.
We've been burning for a long time, and we're just like, oh, I guess this is the way it is. This is where we should be outraged, because to your point, not only do hundreds of thousands of people claim bankruptcy, the severe debt is way higher than that. Mm-hmm. People being tied to their jobs, because people don't want to get out of toxic situations at a workplace or pursue something they want to do, because if they're worried about losing their health care. Mm-hmm. You are enslaved to your place of work, because many people who feel that they can't risk losing health care.
You know, it's interesting, during COVID, when unemployment rates skyrocketed, mm-hmm. do you know how many, I forget the percentages, but it was hundreds of thousands of people that lost their jobs in America because they were being furloughed or laid off. They all lost their health care. You know how many people in Europe lost their health care coverage?
I'm guessing zero.
But there was mass layoffs and furloughs, and employment rate went up. Nobody lost their health care coverage during a global pandemic.
Right.
We were the ones that mm-hmm. did. Yeah.
And in the state of Illinois, we expanded coverage to hundreds of thousands of people to make sure that they could have access to care, including, migrants. And people want to say that migrants or undocumented people coming to this country are a burden on our healthcare system. Well, perhaps if it wasn't a burden to all of us, if the healthcare system wasn't a burden to us, we could help each other.
Well, Donald Trump made Obamacare better, according to his interview yesterday on Meet the Press, which I watched, and that was he made it better, according to him. That's what he said.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know.
Well, let's take a break here. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Make sure you sign up for Kirk Bangstad's newsletter. I'll be writing a piece actually, I think I'll write one on healthcare. Although I don't know if I want to delve into the darkness of this. Well, we'll see. So this Thursday, I will be one of the featured columnists for the Minocqua Brewing Company's newsletter. Again, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, sign up for the newsletter. And don't forget, we've been working with Goods Unite Us. It's an app and a website, GoodsUniteUs.com. And there you can find out about where companies are putting their money, where are their morals. They'll give you a whole list. You can search for any company, even like A&W Root Beer or Target or like all those companies. If you're thinking about buying something, I did this the other day. I wanted some wine. And so I Googled like wine companies that I searched it on Goods Unite Us, and like Apothic Winery does very well for donations to Democrats, and Walgreens more Democrats than Republicans. So I bought my bottle of wine at Walgreens, got some of my frequent user points or whatever.
You cash those in.
So go to Goods Unite Us and support the companies that support America, really. And also want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. I want to encourage you to kidsaboveall.org because they are looking for volunteers for donations. You can go to kidsaboveall.org. They have a wish list for some great presents for the kids in their care, both at group homes. They help with foster care, early childhood education. So go to kidsaboveall.org and support the incredible work they do to help children live happy, healthy, safe lives. More in a moment with our own Dan Schaefer on Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez, on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
There's no better way to defend democracy in front of your fascist Republican friends than with a cold progressive beer from the Minocqua Brewing Company of Wisconsin. So head on over to Beer on the Wall in Schaumburg, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, Captain Jack's Beverages in Worth, or the Wilmette Market to pick up a 4-pack or couple 2-3 of Maga Tears IPA today. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. If you want to give us a call, Paul, can we open up the phone lines if you don't mind? The number is 773-763-9278. That's the number to call and join our conversation. And the voice you'll hear, as I just mentioned, when you call us, will be the voice of Paul Shavari, who is producing the show today. Wishing the best to Lady B. Hope everything is okay. And I am joined by guest co-host Dan Schaefer, the other half of the Politini, and the host of Tuesdays with Josie, available wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We are going to be kicking off a Christmas series. We have our big family Christmas party this weekend, and so we're going to be doing a few little snippets and interviews and stuff for that. Yeah.
Excellent. And now you both, having been of a more conservative sort of leaning, pre. When would you say, was it pre-Trump, or was it, when were you more leaning towards?
Honestly, Obama brought me over to the good side,
liberal?
I would say. Yeah,
Okay. Right.
yeah.
So, what was your first election?
Bush. I didn't vote.
Was
no.
it Gore or Kerry?
Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
No. Yeah. Right.
I'm just like, let's see.
I only voted for Obama once, so
Okay.
it was. I voted for Bush when he was trying to get. No, that's not true at all. No, that would have been. Oh my goodness, McCain. Yeah. I voted for McCain.
You voted for McCain. Well, interestingly,
and Obama won, which.
Thank God.
I still McCain also a very good standard, and you liked
Sarah Palin. You were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm not yelling at you, Dan.
I didn't say it was one of my best decisions.
I can see Alaska. Wait, I am in Alaska. I can see the place across the water.
She could see Russia from her house.
What the freaking fact?
Yeah, I know. I didn't too.
Sometimes I think of. I remember friends of mine just loving her and just thought she was great.
I didn't love Palin.
Oh my God. Friends of mine thought, well, I had friends because they were conservative and they were dudes. They thought she was hot, and all, they loved the way she talked, and because it was that, it was so many things that she said were so stupid.
Oh yeah.
Like jaw-droppingly stupid. And so I was relieved that part of why I felt he had lost was because she was so stupid. Right?
Yeah, I think that she was not a value point of that ticket. Absolutely not.
I don't know. And then I wonder if misogyny did play any role in that now that I look back at that.
That's actually an interesting question. I don't know.
Right? Because we were talking about how maybe people are more misogynist. And I'm not saying both Hillary and Kamala lost or Clinton and Harris lost because they were women, or Harris because she's a woman of color. I do think that there are a lot of people that factor into that.
Yeah.
But if you have I don't know. Look, there are hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to have a different reason, idiosyncrasies and all that.
I do think that with most Republican presidents, they always leave office with an economy in complete turmoil.
Oh, my God.
And I think that's what happened with Bush. That's what happened with Trump. Biden, whether or not you agree or not, everybody thinks that they were better off 4 years ago. I don't agree with that statement at all, but that's what people were led to believe. But historically, Republicans leave office, presidents leave office with an economy in way worse condition than when they found it.
Absolutely.
And they bring in the Democrats to fix it, and fixing it is painful.
But it is, but nobody has any retention of any of that.
Agreed.
Has no nuances.
Completely agree.
They have no access to
Inflation is down. We're the envy of the rest of the developed world in terms of inflation rates currently. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden created more jobs than any other president in a 2-year term, or in his 1-year term, or one term, sorry, than most have done in 2 terms. And the stock market reached record highs. I mean, CHIPS Act, infrastructure bill, Medicare is going to cover dental, hearing, vision, all of these things, yet people still feel that they are better off under the current president-elect, who
Well, and to that as well, people have talked about, we talk about gas prices and eggs all the time. And yet, I remember I posted a picture last winter. I was underneath a gas station sign, and it was under $3, or just over $3, right? And but Democrats don't do that, and the press doesn't do that.
No.
But gas prices are, they only do it as they go up.
Sure.
You haven't heard. I've seen them going down all over the place. And you don't hear that.
Also, egg prices, it was because of a bird flu.
Well, I was listening to Tom Hartman, too, talk about how they had to slaughter a lot of chickens, and they have to slaughter a lot of cows, too.
Yeah.
So
that's
expect your beef prices to go up as well, folks. You can get your steaks. I'm sorry, the president has no
control over any of those things.
Well, and again, there's still the price gouging, because I said this during the pandemic when prices went up on things. If they can charge us this much and we'll pay it during a pandemic,
it's not going to go down.
It's never going to go down. They'll do it.
Yeah.
Paul in Seattle wants to join the conversation. Hey, Paul in Seattle, the host of Kitchen Table Progressives on Sunday nights right here on WCPT, where you are the guest co-star. How are you doing tonight, Paul?
Well, it's just like me to support an unpopular position every once in a while, or at least state it. But I don't feel like as Democrats we need to fall all over ourselves to say we don't support somebody being, quote, assassinated.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. Yeah,
100 people a day. 100 people a day are assassinated by guns in this country. And this guy, I guess I hate to sound crass, but, you know, considering how people are killed by guns, we're lucky that this young man only shot one person. You know, so I guess it's an assassination when you only shoot a target. But when somebody comes to Highland Park or something and blows people away on a 4th of July parade, that's just random gun violence. That's just innocent people getting. It's just, and by the way, guns are a health care issue. Guns are the leading cause of the death of children in this country. So how we get to the discussion of, yeah, the health care system is a burden and it sucks. The guy was gunned down. That's true. And that's really, I don't know why we're escaping the main issue is that the man was gunned down on the street. By the way, I guess Donald Trump could do that and not be prosecuted, but he said he could.
He did make that claim several times.
Yeah, he said that I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Wasn't it on Fifth Avenue?
I said Fifth Avenue. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just this is the thing: is that how quickly the police are on this one. Are they solving all the other gun assassination murders in New York City or all over this country that we're just supposed to accept the assassination of our children in our schools? These are just things that, like J.D. Vance said, you know, it sucks. It's no fun facing that. It sucks, but that's the way it is. That's what we get when it's assassinating our children in our schools. But when it's the CEO of a big healthcare company, no, that's an assassination that demands all out. By the way, we know more about this guy who assassinated the CEO than we do about the guy who took a shot at Donald Trump. We know all about John Wilkes Booth. We know all about Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't even know the name of the guy who took a shot at Trump where Trump his ear got hurt. We don't know anything about that guy.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I will say it is a surreal thing. To your point that Democrats don't have to feel squishy about jumping on this conversation. Like I said, it was and because also remember, I have a lot of comedians. I mean, I probably have over 400 comedians on all my social platforms that I'm friends with. So a lot of jokes. And it's just not so I kind of have two things: being a squishy Democrat who's like, this makes me uncomfortable, but also as a comedian who never liked this stuff on stage, like talking about serial killers personally and things like that. But to your point, we shouldn't shy away from this conversation. And it is very, like, I don't know if you've seen, like, I listened to some of this young man, Luigi Mangione, who's been arrested as the person suspected of having executed a CEO of United Healthcare, turned in, by the way, by a McDonald's worker, and already people are making memes of Burger King, we won't turn you in, kind of a thing. A lot of Sopranos memes and GIFs, a lot of, if you think you saw him, you didn't see him kind of posts. A lot of people angry at the McDonald's worker. But yeah, to your point, like, yeah, there's, by the way, very handsome young man. And I did not realize this, Paul and Dan. I didn't realize that both the right and the left wanted to take credit for him. Again, what is...
Oh,
yeah. Both.
That just
both
shows
sides.
You where we are currently.
Yeah. Well, so that's an interesting element to this, that everybody, left or right, can agree their health... thankfully, I guess, we can all agree this is crap, what we're doing under the health insurance companies.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Look forward to more conversations with you. I'll be your guest.
Well, thankfully, Dr. Oz is going to solve all of our problems if he gets it. I'm just saying.
I forget about some of these people. Over 75 Nobel Peace Prize winners have said that they do not support RFK Jr. becoming the hell of a head of the Health and Human Services, which is appropriate. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in studio with our good friend Dan Schaefer. You can catch Tuesdays at Josie's, wherever you catch your podcast. We'll continue our conversation when we come back with me, Patti Vasquez, right here on the Heartland.
What do we do with the girl next door? She's got no choice like she did before. What do we do with the farmer's daughter? The court took away what her mama fought for. As the good old boys drink
the one and only Gwen Levy with Barefoot and Pregnant. Find her on social media. It's Gwen Levy and the Shakedown. Hopefully we'll be on tour with them next spring because we are going to be working on races in Wisconsin, in particular the Supreme Court race, because they do have a Democrat stepping down and we have to protect their, right now they've been able to break the supermajority with Republicans, and we want to help elect another progressive, or at least not conservative, right-leaning extremist on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, having just broken their extremely gerrymandered maps. And in studio with us, we have Dan Schaefer from Apollottini and the podcast Tuesdays with Josie, available wherever you get your podcasts. And, we've been talking about Luigi Mangione, kind of, sort of like tangentially, I guess, here and there, the alleged person who law enforcement has identified. He was turned in by a McDonald's worker. I want to say in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
I think so.
And there's a book by George Burns called "You'll Never Play Altoona Again" or something like that. When George Burns was touring in vaudeville, and so whenever I hear that word, and I think there's a couple of Altoonas, believe it or not, in the country. At any rate, that's, I believe, where he was apprehended. A lot of he has sparked a lot of interest. His followers on social media has gone through the roof. A lot of people, sort of elevating him to the status of hero for doing what he did. He apparently celebrated the work of the Unabomber in the sense that when all else fails, violence is the only answer, which is horrifying. I mean, there are people who believe that. There are anarchists who just think if they won't listen to us, then. But I don't know if you said this or somebody else said this won't change anything, right? With the CEOs and billionaires, because the only people that benefit from this are security teams.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
that's the only people that and media. Yeah. The media. There's going to be. I mean, the guy's handsome. Holy majoli, Dan. I mean, I'm
not going to lie. I don't condone his actions.
I mean,
but,
he's half my age. But
mine too. That's weird.
I was like, holy cow. Let's have the Jim on the air. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Patty. Hi, Dan. I was going to ask you, Dan, does any of your ancestors ever to admit to voting for Herbert Hoover in the 32 election? Do you recall any of your older relatives?
I don't know, but I don't think I can ask him.
I know, but you sound like you were born into a Republican family.
Oh, yeah, right? We were pretty. Well, what's interesting to me is we were a pretty blue-collar Democrat family. A lot of union members, things of that sort. But then nobody in my family listens to the show other than my mother and my husband. Once Obama became president, everything just shifted way to the right. And so we could just assume why that occurred, but
that's odd because now my family, everybody in my family's voted Democrat since I was a little boy. Everybody, I've got 65 first cousins and all kinds of big Irish families. Everybody votes Democrat. There was one guy that switched parties to run for a state's attorney against. Madigan's kid, the girl, and he turned Republican. Yeah, at least he ran against her, but he did it for Zoe. He didn't do it because he was a Republican born. But when I did talk to him, he did get more Republican. I was like, ooh, this guy's getting scary. But anyway, I was going to say today, think about health care. I feel very secure with Dr. Oz and Kennedy running the healthcare system. Very secure. In fact, I'm going to go out and get a stethoscope and help my own business. Or how about Dr. Phil he loves Trump too. He kisses Trump. He loves him. But him as our mental health director, which we don't even have a mental health director because we wouldn't go near. Our mental health care is so expensive, Patty and Dan. You can't believe it.
Yeah.
You talk about it, but go to your vanilla psychiatrist. It's $350 for a half an hour. Any medications go through the ceiling, so no poor person's going to get it, and they're not going to get it anyway. I think this is just a disaster. The whole thing's a disaster. But I was going to say Syria. You know how many prisoners? You know how many prisoners were tortured to death in those Syrian prisons over the years that Assad put in there? Tens of thousands have been tortured to death. Yeah. Torture is still so vibrant. Can you believe in 2024?
I know.
People are so willing to torture people. Even Bush Jr. tortured people in Abu Ghraib.
Yeah,
tortured them.
There's a thirst for violence amongst. In this, I was talking with some. God. I mean, I know, and look, even at like Trump rallies. Remember, I mean, like since the first race he ran, like
offered to pay legal fees for somebody that would be protesters, or
that they would. Don't be so gentle on them with the cops. Remember, he told the cops.
All right, Danny, say this. Say we're sitting in the White House, and you get a phone call from the CDC that there's a dynamite pandemic coming, and it's February. Are you going to dummy up for 2 months and hope you're the president of the United States? Are you going to dummy up for 2 months and let people die and get infected all over the country? And not only that, but come on, let's face it, these were expendable people dying on the altar of capitalism. That's all that was. All those people that died on the altar of capitalism, which they've been doing since the Adam Smithy and making us all consumers back in the 1840s.
Tom Hartman made a reference about that, actually, about after I think it was a Washington Post article that came out that said that COVID was affecting black and brown community.
Sure.
And then at that point, that was open up the country. It was like, oh, okay, cool. We can just do this. We'll because but the truth of the matter is, are they expanding health care for anybody? I mean, seriously, do you think for 4 years now we got to duck? We got to stay in a foxhole for 4 years. 4 years we got to stay in a foxhole. I can't even look at anything. I can't listen to anything. I got classical music on morning and night. Jones Show and Patty Show, the only two I listen to. And I can't take anything else. I can't even listen to anybody talking about why we lost or what the Democrats did to lose. The truth of the matter is they voted for a dictator. Yeah. And the police department, 3/4 of the police voted for a dictator. Mm-hmm. They love a dictator because they're emboldened by it. They can arrest more people. They can molest more people. They can beat more people. Because this is supposed to be the party of law and order. And here they've got a criminal, an arch criminal, in the White House, an arch criminal, 38 counts of business fraud. I mean, you name it, molesting people, a serial molester, a rapist. Twice impeached.
And he's walking the street, and he's president of the United States.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the first president to be reelected as a twice impeached, convicted felon.
No. Well, yeah. Well, you know what's a good one is the two. I used to have a $500 bill and a $1,000 bill. One was Grover Cleveland was on a $500 bill. I think Franklin Pierce is on a $1,000. But it's been so long since I had those denominations, I can't even remember. But those were the two denominations: the $500 bill and the $1,000 bill. Grover Cleveland was on one of them. I can't know if it was 1,000 or 500. But he's the only moron this moron did it. And Grover Cleveland didn't cause an insurrection. I mean, Grover Cleveland didn't. And when he lets these people out,
he's going to pardon. He said it yesterday.
But they're all going to get book deals. Think of it.
Yeah.
If you were a ghostwriter, I would just sit by the jail as they get pardoned and come on and say, "Come here, tell your story." How you spent your 2 miserable years in prison for the cure. I tell you, it'll sell like hotcakes. It'll sell like hotcakes. That's all you can do is get a Uber, stand in front of that prison, work with Sam, and get them the first ones to sign a contract with you. You'll make a fortune. Yeah. Anyway, you guys,
thanks, Jim.
Your voice.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, you too, Patty.
Take care. Pace yourself, Jim. All right? I'm glad you're here. I actually cannot do, and I'm with Jim, I have not turned on, I haven't had, previously, and this is part of why I missed a lot of the news, because I'm working there, because 45 has been reelected. I am gaming out a lot of situations on my day job. I'm trying to figure out because, if RFK Jr. is appointed if he becomes the head of the Health and Human Services in the United States, by the way, it's a $1.7 trillion infrastructure in our healthcare system. Okay. And the thing is that we're going from basically never in the history of somebody leading the Health and Human Services have we had somebody who doesn't believe even science, who has negated the efficacy of vaccines, who encourages people to drink raw milk when we know that it's especially now it's he also wants to bring in somebody
fluoride out of the
water, and it's absolutely insane. So the other, there are elements to this. I can't, I know that people didn't think of this, or maybe they don't have any sort of reference to just the last 15 years when we talk about the Affordable Care Act, or what they thought was the Affordable Care Act because they're worried about losing it now because they didn't realize that was Obamacare. When I was younger, when we were younger, and I'm older, obviously, I didn't have health insurance after I was off my parents' insurance at 22. I did not have health insurance from the ages of 21 until I got married at 29. So for 7 years, and I remember getting I would ask for information, be like, I should probably. And I used to I would go for exams and pay out of pocket, and it was expensive, and I didn't want to do it. I did have precancerous cells in my cervix, and I had to go to Planned Parenthood. They charged me, I think it was on a sliding scale based on income, $119 to have precancerous cells frozen off my walls of the cervix so that I could have children. That's all. When people talk about Planned Parenthood, it means being able to plan your life, plan your parenting.
Planned Parenthood is not just abortions.
No.
It is women's health care.
Yeah.
We were, when Matt came in and he said, don't say health insurance versus health care. Planned Parenthood is health care.
Yes.
Health insurance companies are health insurance companies, but yes,
but here's to the point that Matt made, right? That our healthcare system. But the thing is, and I know that it is the insurance companies that are making the healthcare providers do this. So I was supposed to have surgery back in 2019, and 5 days before my surgery, I got a phone call from the hospital telling me what my part of the bill. Now I had very good health insurance at the time. I had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we always got the best coverage because my son has a lot of medical needs. And they called me and they told me that my portion of the surgery was going to be almost $4,500. And I was like, what? I did not. I had really good health insurance. I'm like, $4,500. That's a pretty big hit, right? So I was like, I called the doctor's office and I go, because I knew the range of what the surgery cost. I had a friend who paid out of pocket $6,000 just for the surgery, right? So I'm like, how is my surgery costing me almost as much as what out of pocket would cost? Yeah. So I called the surgeon. This was through Northwestern Hospital. The surgeon was with Northwestern. And I said, how much, if I just paid this out of pocket, how much would it cost me? And they said $9,000. So how am I paying almost half of what the surgery costs? And they said, well, because the insurance companies don't pay as much as we think we should have back, because you're in a hospital, Northwestern wants to get this much back. The doctor's office was charging my healthcare company, my insurance company. So the surgeon's office was charging my insurance company $60,000 for a surgery that cost them $9,000 in the hopes that they would get some of that. So everybody's playing a game with our health. And I almost swore there.
Insurance was going to give them probably maybe 12 and be like, take it or leave it. And then you were going to cover the $4,500.
Exactly.
And that was
or they were only going to give them 5, 8, 6,000, whatever it was. So for me, and I get it. I get that the providers are in a pinch. I have a friend who told me, she was like, always ask how much it would cost you in cash. That's why I called them.
And always appeal. Always appeal.
Always appeal. But I was just like, screw it. I'll wait to have the surgery done. And then when I finally did and worked with the insurance companies, worked with my doctor's office, $450 was how much my end was. Come on now. Come on now.
Okay.
What is happening? I just didn't have the bandwidth at that point.
They just assume that people are just going to cut the check.
They want to grind us down.
It. And
but again, and I just infuriates me that
education is key. It really is.
And how many people just go, okay, I guess that's how much it costs, or I'll take out a loan, or I'll put it on my credit card, and I'll just get it done because I need to have it done.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it was something that was painful and debilitating for me, but it wasn't immediate. It wasn't emergent. So I said, well, I'll just wait until I could. And I had it done last year. So it's like, I can't.
It's our system. It's our system.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it was extreme pain from the base of my ear all the way down to my hand. I had just this incredible, pain for years and years. And the minute I came out of surgery, it was gone. I was like, oh my God, I'm a new person. It was I could function better, and it affects your brain, your productivity, all the things. And this is what we're doing to people. We're grinding them down in this country
because you were able to follow up. You weren't bankrupt because of it, where other people are bankrupt because of it.
Yeah.
And it's Oh, yeah. Man, we need to do
Again.
Next time you want to have me on, we'll do a segment about how the healthcare system needs to be reformed, because there's a lot of things.
But there is you can say that, and why it needs to be, everyone's got all these solutions.
But the hospitals have actual discount programs that people don't know about.
Right.
Because insurance companies don't.
Get me started.
I know.
You
probably know more about this than anybody.
No, I don't actually. But when my husband lost his job in 2008, and so I was like, I was so scared. This goes back to your job, right? So the only thing I thought of, the money, yes,
insurance.
Right?
You got to have
the insurance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because of Declan, who has, for folks who maybe don't hear this show all the time, my son has severe disabilities. He was born without part of his brain. He wasn't breathing. They didn't think he would live, and he's a beautiful 19-year-old young man now. But I was like, I can't afford not to have this great insurance, so I paid Cobra, which was over $1,700 a month, and I was an independent contractor. So I didn't know till almost the end. I didn't know about All Kids. Like, you think of All Kids, like and because a lot of us don't think of ourselves as being below the poverty level.
Right.
Well, yeah, once my husband lost his job.
Once you deduct medical expenses, and hospitals have to give you a set amount of a discount in order to keep their nonprofit status.
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
But then, and by design, honestly, that's, yeah.
I didn't know about All Kids. I was at Zany's on Wells in Chicago, and the bartender, I was talking to him, he goes, are you on All Kids? All Kids, okay, folks, if you know anybody that is underinsured or uninsured and they have children and they qualify financially, they can be fully covered, and it is a solid program. Declan has his own now because he's 19, because he qualifies for the rest of his life. He is permanently disabled. But it's hard to find that information, and I even work for the state, and I don't know how to. I honestly, it just feels like word of mouth, like you accidentally hear about something.
Right.
We are in such bad shape. So yes, I understand that it is the health insurance companies, and yes, they carry the burden of this, and why the healthcare providers function the way they do. I had a orthopedic specialist who shamed me because I pulled up in a Honda Odyssey, and he's like, "Yeah, I get all kids, these Medicaid, Medicare patients, and they have newer cars." I'm like, my husband had a job when we bought this, and we paid it off, dude.
You drove up in a minivan.
I'm saying, it is. There's so many
Cadillac
levels.
Escalade or Range Rover.
I know, but why are we shaming people?
You drove in a car that was accommodating for your child.
Yeah,
and
I know. Yeah. I can't. It's okay. Let's take a break here.
Okay.
But again, that's a healthcare provider. So, and believe me, having done this for a long time, I know there are extraordinary healthcare providers. I also have a bone to pick, and that's why I started a company called With Kind Words. That I have so many words I use. That jackhole shouldn't have spoken to me that way. Many of us get treated in a way that is unkind and not productive to our own health, because your mental health is a big part of your recovery.
I want to help you with your business.
Or collaborate on that. Let's take a break here. We're hanging out with Dan Schaefer. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to check in with our friend Jen Zanotti and talk about some positivity and being grateful for where we are in life. And then at 6:30, we're going to talk about some folks. It's the holiday season, so we want to talk to our friends providing food to our friends to the north in Wisconsin. We're talking to a food pantry up north. And let's take a break here and continue this conversation. Our phone lines are open, 773-763-9278. That's the number to call and join the conversation. And you can also text us to the same number. More in a moment, right here on the Heartland Signal, WCPT 820.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Hey, everybody. I just received a text that exactly exemplifies why I have not spoken about the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO last week. Right now, we're talking about partly what we are reacting to is the really ghastly reactions that people have, the humor people are using. That's how I prefaced this from the beginning, was that I was shocked by how many people were taking pleasure in this. So if you heard something differently, you are hearing what you want to hear, what you thought you heard. I exactly have said this for the last 53 minutes that I wasn't comfortable talking about this last week. When we talk about this guy being, they're making jokes about him being called a Robin Hoodie. I am talking about how bad our healthcare insurance industry is in this country, how bad our healthcare industry, based on my own personal experiences. So I appreciate going back and forth with you, 815, but you are 1,000% incorrect. And I will stand by that.
I would say I listen to your show every day. So because I'm kind of a stalker, because I love you. But
I love you back.
But I said
this last week.
You have never said anything. And also, we can call into question the infrastructure or institution of our health insurance in this country, while we can call that into question while not gunning down people in the streets.
Yeah, and that was what I was saying, is that the moment we should be taking to a focus on, what we should be looking at is, why are people reacting in these sort of I mean, it bothers me seeing the jokes online.
If you lose somebody in a medical, because insurance wasn't covering something or whatever, and that your loved one dies, you are emotionally going to be going and with this individual, I mean, allegedly, we don't know anything, allegedly going for revenge.
Right.
But that should not be the case.
Yeah,
and I don't want that to be the case in this country. And you don't either.
No.
So this person that texted in that's not accurate.
No. And people even talking about, like, well, Paul from Seattle was saying that law enforcement put a lot more resources in than they do, catching the people who are killed every single day by gun violence. And I understand that, but even my brain, there are elements to this where, people were making fun of the cops in New York. They didn't look like they were trying to. All this stuff, like, I have specifically avoided any of these conversations because I do appreciate that, there are situations where, someone has been murdered, and you wish that law enforcement or the media or whoever was doing a more vigilant job. My brother was missing for 2.5 years before they discovered his body, and many other young men. Mm-hmm. And police had been, and I don't hold the police accountable in that situation. I don't say, oh, well, it's kind of like, I have experience with this, and being appalled when somebody is at the center of a public media storm and has died as because of their role, who they are, all these things. I'm not comfortable with it, and I that's why. But thank you for really being unkind. 815, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know what I think about you right now, and I think we've been pleasant to each other before, but shame on you, right back at you.
I always just say be kind, but Killer 815 is not kind.
That was I'm disappointed. Sick that you find. They wrote, sick that you find the murder of insurance exec death a good thing. When you know what? Go back and find me the audio. 815, find it for me, because it's all available on all of the podcast platforms. Please isolate that moment where, in context with the whole conversation, that I said that in any way, shape, or form. I want to hear it.
You never
play
did
it back for me.
You never did.
This is why I avoided it, Dan.
Yeah, I know, but you read it. You're kind of like me. You have to read it because you just have to.
Well, because they generally have been, I think, let's see if they've been a jackhole the whole time. Sorry if you're not a jackhole.
Actually, I'm surprised you didn't. Yeah, I'm good.
Let's see. Hey, Tommy. Trump's going, no, it seems like it's all been pleasant for everybody else. But no, they need to be.
You've been very forefront in
my discomfort of talking about this.
You are not promoting violence in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But you are calling into question why somebody chose to act the way that they did.
Exactly. And we're all frustrated with the healthcare industry that it can mess up your head.
And it's part of a larger conversation, but the immediate solution is not violence against anybody. But it does call into question. We need to have a conversation. But it doesn't mean killing people. That's not
that's what I've said.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you said. Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
So 815, you are wrong. Look me up on Facebook.
I have to take a deep breath. You know what I need? I need a little bit of, I think I need some of this. Maybe this will help. No, it's not going to help. You know what? Here's the thing. I really dislike how many of my comedic friends, I have over 400 friends. I've been a stand-up comic for 30 years, so I've accumulated a lot of people in my life who have made light of this. And not just, and here's the thing. People on the left and right. Does it sound calming? Does anyone sound like I'm being calmed by the music? I'm feeling so relaxed right now. I really dislike it a lot. I dislike the reactions that people have. Like,
I was coming in with a rant when I got here.
Oh, were you? What's your rant? Go ahead.
No, it's Meet the Press after I watched.
Oh, all right. What's about?
But I'm not doing it. No, we're not.
God, I don't want to hear that guy's voice.
It's a terrifying thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
It's allowed.
Yeah, he wants to expel American citizens, people who are born in the United States, which by our Constitution makes them citizens. Let's take a break here. You know who might help us be more positive is our positivity expert, Jen Zanotti, coming up in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We'll be right back after this.
Sing it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Woohoo! Okay, I am so happy to have in studio my good friend, guest co-host.
You almost called me a comedian. I
did, because I had so many comedians in last week. I had like Scott Perlman, who I've known since I was like 23 years old, and Dwayne Kennedy I've known my whole career. But you're also very funny.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. Well, you're the only one out of all of us that watches Fox News. That's all I'm saying. And like meet
I
the
like
press
to torture myself.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? I bet you our positivity expert has something to say about that in a moment. Before I get to my good friend Jen Zanotti, I want to say hello to our friends listening in the evening on KTNF AM 950, the Northern Front. My husband calls it the Northern Front, KTNF. It's the progressive voice of Minnesota, and we're so thrilled that you're joining us as we drive it home right here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and of course, every evening at 9 o'clock, we have your wonderful host, Matt McNeil, following Randy Rhodes, and Jen Zanotti, who has a great collection of podcasts that you should check out because they're timeless. Getting Zen with Gen Z is a great podcast. She is all things Gen Z. Hey, Jen, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm trying to find my happy space every single day. I was watching some show and someone was trying to tell them to relax or meditate, and they were like, "My stress is the only thing that keeps me together." And I'm like, "Oh, that's been my problem."
That can be true sometimes. It can be our guiding light, right? Sometimes we have to be stressed. Like we function better when we're stressed. It's almost like a little bit more productive. But there gets to be the point where it's a little too much.
Yes, I would say I sometimes hit that tipping point. And okay, before we get to the topic I want to talk about with you that you posted about gratitude for our bodies and for our very own, every single day being where we are in life, regardless of what that is. But I want to say that I think being mindful when you're in a stressful situation is important. I did this yesterday. I found myself in a stressful situation. I reacted the wrong way. I came back. And I found my way back, right? I was like, okay, let's take a sip, let's take a breath and come back into this with a fresh sort of perspective on this. And that can be really hard to do when you're in the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think being aware is huge. Awareness is key. And if you can stop and pause and take a breath, I mean, literally, my husband just got in the door 5 minutes ago, and I was running down the list of everything. I'm like, I'm competing this week, and then it's a week until Christmas, and oh my God, I got to do this, this, and that, and we have these bills, or I've got to figure this out for the gym. And, we can get super stressed, and there can be so much chaos in the daily grind. But being able to kind of let all that out, right? Maybe it's somebody you're communicating that with, or writing it down, or just whatever that stress is in the moment, mentally being I need to just take a breath, relax for a second. Everything's going to be okay. Let me think about the bigger picture. It'll all get done. It's really important, I think, to just be aware and take that moment if you can.
I agree. It's something I don't know. I don't even know if my husband knows this. Sometimes when I panic and I'm afraid or scared because of things I went through that you're familiar with, right? That when I was in my former employment, one of the things that everything turned out okay. I was afraid for the safety of my son, for the safety of my family in the situation I got, the toxic environment I had there. Since I got through that, I was like, okay, that was scary. But I ended up, in retrospect, I was safe, and I didn't feel that way. Yeah. So now I actually have to tell myself, nothing's happening to you right now. Right now, nothing bad is happening to you. I have to tell this to other people, I'll ask people, what's the worst thing you think will happen? And then let's walk it backwards from there, right?
1,000%.
And that's
yeah,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
I'm like, you go. Come on. No, we just, great minds think alike. That's something that I tell my clients a lot. I think when we think about things or stress, in our mind, right, it just gets so much bigger. And I've said this before, not to take away from what that can be. Like you said, things can be super scary, and you can be in a really fearful situation. But with kind of everyday things or even, heavy life challenges, when you're thinking about things, I think understanding what is the biggest fear you have and knowing what that is and kind of writing that down and getting it out of your mind, because we do tend to make it a little bit larger when it's just floating around up there, and all different scary scenarios can come out. So I think when you kind of write it down or talk it through and say, okay, this is what my biggest fear is, and then talking about, well, what would I do, or how would I react, or what steps would I have in place if that actually came to light, right? And having that kind of plan, I think, equips you a little bit better to know how you would kind of deal with that if it did happen, and then that kind of takes some of that stress away, I think.
Right, exactly, and I appreciate that, because as you said, once our minds start, going there, it's the most powerful part of your entire existence is your brain, your imagination, and it can make things feel real when nothing is actually. I mean, can it happen? Sure. Is it happening? Is the bigger part, right? And we all go through that. Now, I do want to go to your beautiful post today. If you follow, Jen, can folks follow you? Do you have this post as well on Instagram? Because I see it on Facebook.
Yes, it's on Instagram at All Things Gen Z, JENZ.
I love it. And so you are about to get a year older. You're about to go to take another trip around the sun. And you're about the age when I started a fitness. And you started when you started a little bit later getting into jiu-jitsu and everything. But I started at the age you are now getting into CrossFit. And I have to tell you, it is the most fit and the best I've ever felt in my entire life was the kind of workout I did. And so I'm so proud. You're at 13 years, like 12 years into your journey and still building on this. Tell us a little bit about what you're feeling today as you're nearing 43.
I just, it's funny. Each year, I almost think I feel better. Usually, sometimes you would think in your mind the opposite as we get older. But I think there's so many things that go into that. You become wiser, you become stronger, you really focus on the things that matter in life, right? Versus when you're younger, kind of worrying about some other stuff that maybe is not as important to us now, at least. But I just really wanted to kind of take note and was feeling super grateful for how, strong I feel, how empowered, and where my health is at. There have been a lot of, people that I've heard lately, and I just feel like this can happen younger and younger, where people are getting diagnosed with cancer, or there's health issues that aren't allowing, especially people in the jiu-jitsu community, to be able to compete. And I was just sitting with that, where I felt very grateful that I'm able to compete at that level. I'm able to have a job that is very physically demanding, and I'm grateful for my body for allowing me to do that, and, want to just honor that and take advantage of the things that I can now, because I don't know what a year will bring from now, right? I can be as proactive as possible, and people can, we all can, to keep our health in check, but we never know at the end of the day what can happen. So I think just really being able to, take certain opportunities, to set certain goals, to not have any regrets, and really be grateful for how strong our bodies are, because we could really, put them through the grind and, take it for granted. So I think just honoring that and going out and crushing it, whatever that could look like for somebody. But I think it's really important to be present and, just take on some goals and challenges as 2025 is coming up.
And it doesn't, go ahead, Dan, please.
Hi, Jen, it's Dan.
Hi.
How does one accomplish that during the holidays?
Yeah, really.
Well, the holidays, I know there's a lot of celebrations, but, I think it's really comes down to a few days, right, where we're with family and we have parties and things. But I think we can keep our fitness and nutrition in check for the most part, right? So I think just keeping that in sight, like I'm going to have some indulgences here and there, during these holiday parties or festivities, and that's where so many memories are created, and that's great. And especially as I tell my clients to not feel as guilty about that, and to enjoy those times when they are making sure they're getting movement in, when they are making sure that, for a majority of the time or the days leading up to that, they are in their normal healthy eating routine. I think just getting in some of that awareness and mindfulness of making sure that 80% of the time, you're on point and doing well, and then you can enjoy those times around the holidays and not feel guilty about it.
I agree. And it is, and I was watching it. I think we've talked about this before, Jen. I try to find as many days, as many moments in the day where I can just do a bunch of squats. Like even that reminds you that you need to keep your body going, right? And sort of burn off some calories or stay flexible and things like that.
You also walk a lot whenever you can.
I walk a lot. That's my name.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be something like, I'm going out to compete at a jiu-jitsu tournament. I mean, sure, I'd love everybody in the world to do jiu-jitsu, but, go out for a walk for 10 minutes every day. Do some body movement, squats, 3 sets of 10 squats. Anything that you can do for your body. Start to incorporate yoga or stretching, right? Mobility stuff. Just especially as we get older. Balance movement is great. Just, I think, giving that self-care and love to your body and just honoring it and being grateful for everything that it does for us. We put a lot of stress on it. So just kind of showing your body some care. Any little steps to do that and be aware of that, I think, is huge.
I think that's why I asked about the holidays. Jen, my husband, is a flight attendant, and we always say, secure your oxygen mask before helping others.
Yeah.
And I think leading into the holidays, it's take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you can't help other individuals.
That's right.
It's literally, you have to figure out your own process, whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, but you've got to get your process in place, and then you are capable of helping others.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's where sometimes, a long time ago, I had written a blog about self-care. Is it selfish, or is it okay to show your self-love?
It's all about boundaries.
A lot of people will be like, yeah, and it's you have to take care of you to be able to be that best version of yourself for the other people in your life. And it's not a selfish thing to do. But all of that is connected too, as you say, the mental and physical. If you're super stressed, being able to get some movement in is going to help, right, with that, and really release a lot of that tension and stress in your body, in your mind. So it's just all full circle, and really making sure to be able to get that in. And, hey, get your family in on it. If you guys are celebrating, maybe, during the day, or you're hanging out, you get outside for some fresh air, go for a walk, right? I don't want to say grapple in the living room, but hey, if you wrestle or do jiu-jitsu, or there's flag football games or whatever, it's just getting a little bit more movement into the tradition, I think, is always something fun too. Dancing, anything super fun. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love to dance. Well,
I love a good dance too.
Love a good dance.
You throw some Sharon, I'm gonna be
If I could turn back time. I do want to say, I want to come back to something you mentioned, which is, that there are people who are dealing with health issues. And I know that for some folks listening, they're going through something stressful. Maybe it's health-wise, mental or physical, other kinds of stresses in their lives. And I know I've talked about my friend Kristen McAllister, who we lost recently. And there was something that a lot of folks have been sharing, and I want to reiterate this, because you mentioned you have no regrets. And Kristen McAllister lived the kind of life that was filled with, she lived it to its most. And when you see the posts about her, but I want to say that shortly before, a month before she lost her battle, she wrote, even though this is excruciating to go through, I've never felt more myself in my life. And that's part of it too, is being in, she took every day as a moment to live life, to still fight this, to be present. And to me, and my dad was the same way. He didn't think about, there were moments where he was like, he would reflect on the possibility of not making it, but he also reflected on, he would tell me, he took the moments to sort of be alive, be in the moment, do the things he had always put off. And I think that's important too.
Absolutely. I mean, we're here, we're living, we're breathing. And, I think to honor a lot of those people who we've lost, and I'm so sorry, Patty, I saw your post, and that's, my love goes to you and her family. And it's just, to honor those people we think about. I think that helps kind of giving us the motivation too of like, we need to not take ourselves or our bodies for granted, this life for granted, and go out there and do the things we want to accomplish, right? No matter how big or small.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a great mindset and a place to start out 2025.
Yeah.
And really think about those things as we end this year.
Exactly. And nothing, as you mentioned, nothing is promised. This is
right.
it. I make a joke about this that, look, I started hating my body when I was in high school. A lot of people do whatever the reasons are when we're teenagers. It's part hormones and the mean girls and boys at school. Or I had a softball coach who called me Thunder Thighs, and the quickness with which I started hating my thighs, has lasted me. And I make jokes about it. But my joke is like, look, I'm north of 50. I look in the mirror, I'm like, well, it's not going to get any better. This is about I have to look in the mirror. I may not love my body, but I am okay with my body. Like, this is it. And I have a choice now. Like, I'm not going to let it slide. Like I'm holding the line, even if it's just holding the line. I'm not going to be 16 again, but I can certainly, like when I was, my 40s, like that's honestly the best I think I've ever looked in my entire life. And then the pandemic happened and other things, but I'm getting there.
You look pretty fabulous.
Well, you're very nice. Thank you.
You do. And two things there that you said. So, first of all, and this is going to be another reason you should do jiu-jitsu, but, I'd always say, oh yeah, I have thunder thighs. There's some rash guards and gear. Thick thighs take lives. I'm going to tell you, if you didn't know what those thighs were needed for, some triangle chokes, baby.
Okay.
You can choke somebody with your legs. It's amazing.
Okay, but here's the thing, and that position,
and you're like, yes.
Yeah, thunder thighs take lives. But then there's positional things that I still have cultural hang-ups when it comes to someone's face in that area, whether it's for pain or pleasure.
Yep. Sure. I get that. We're easy, but I'm telling you, it feels very powerful when you can do that. And I'm like, now I understand what these thunder thighs were for. Yes. This is amazing.
Yes.
It's a defense mechanism, really, is what.
Yeah. Not so fast.
Sorry. I feel like we're spiraling out of control.
I love it.
Second thing is that I do feel like, we joke because there's, they divide up kind of like the jiu-jitsu tournaments is like adult level, which is like ages 18 to 29. And then there's the masters level, which is 30 plus. So you can always fight down. I could do the adult level. I started at 30, so for a long time I did compete in the adult levels. And there weren't as many women back then, so, you kind of had to. But now it's like, there's Master 1, Master 2, Master 3, 4, 5, so I know I've mentioned there were, like, at Masters World last year, there was 2 75-year-old women in the division, and they were out there, like, competing, and that was amazing to see. But it's one of the largest tournaments, and there's so many competitors there. And I'm telling you, we always talk about this. It's like old man strength, right, or old woman strength. Like, these people are tough. And it's, when you're younger, I think you have probably more speed on your side, right, maybe a little more endurance. But the strength of people who are obviously, training and strengthening their bodies, but have lived life, it's very powerful. And I feel like there's just this grit and strength as you get older that is like so hard to deal with. And it's different. But people joke about it all the time. You know, you've got guys training or girls training at 40s, 50s, 60s, and it's like, man, that person's tough. And it's like, well, yeah, they've been through some stuff, you know, and it
some muck. They've been through some muck. Yeah.
So, I think that's very true. And that's why, you know, I think a lot of us do find that, like, our prime is, you know, probably moved to 40s or 50s or 30s. You know, it depends for people, but I think it is a little bit later in life, you know?
Yeah, I love that. We have a listener who wants to join the conversation real quick. Debbie is calling from Old Town. Jen, we're on the line with Jen Zanotti, all things GenZ.com. Hey, Debbie, you're on with me, Dan, and Jen. What's on your mind?
Hey guys, I love this conversation. It's fantastic. It's very positive. You know, it's one thing. I believe that all your life, you know, you need to eat right, work out, do fitness stuff, you know, be aware of your body, self-care for yourself, because at some point in your life, as you get older, you will meet challenges that will challenge every bit of your fitness, every bit of your resolve, you know, and how you get through that is going into it being healthy and coming out of it, you know, healing faster, getting the results that you want through the challenge and meeting it at the end. And that's why I think it's so essential. You know, and younger people don't look at it that way. They think, oh, I need this muscle here or that muscle there. That attitude definitely changes as you get older. It's not about the muscle here or the muscle there. It's about the wellness here and the wellness there, and how much you've supported your health throughout your life, that when you meet challenges, you can face them head on and you'll get through them, you know, the way you're supposed to.
Absolutely, Debbie. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's such a great point. And I think that's so important for people as they're young to start taking care of themselves now.
Yep.
Sadly, at some point, we all get there. You know, we all get these challenges, and the healthier you go into them, you know, the healthier you come out of them and the better you come out of them. So that's one of the reasons for me that I feel that, you know, everybody should do what they can in terms of self-care, in terms of staying fit. And don't just let it go because you're getting older or, you know, oh, I may not feel this way or that way. Every day, get up, stretch, do something. You know, you do it in bed. Do it before you get out of bed.
Well, that's my thing, Debbie. It's you do what you need to do. Don't be judged by anybody else. You do what you're comfortable doing. And you know what? If you walk a mile a day, if you walk half a mile a day, if you can do stretches in bed, you can just do the things. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks.
Exactly. Although my poor husband, my first thing I do is I scream because I'm angry at the day.
I scream every morning.
Every morning. Yeah. Anybody else? I want to know how people scream that. I'm like, I mean, really, Jen, I'm not kidding. I let out a big scream that I have to get out with my life.
But if that's what helps you, then do it. That's it.
Grateful. Just be grateful that you're getting out of bed that day.
Yes.
And that you feel good and that you feel strong and face the day with a smile.
Yeah. I wake up every day. I'm like, now what? Let's go. But it's a big scream.
I take my 2 monster dogs for a walk in the morning. They're monsters. And it's just,
I think absolutely having a dog is the best, you know, because you got to do it. You got to get out there.
If you want 2 dogs, you can have them.
Know?
It'll be fine.
Thank you, Debbie. Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Stay positive. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye. So you're competing this weekend, Jen? Is that what?
I am.
Oh, where are you going?
Yep. I compete on Friday. It's in Vegas. So I leave Wednesday night and compete on Friday. And then I will also be coaching some students as well and come back Saturday night. So
you guys follow Jen.
Excited.
Follow Jen on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, because not only can you learn more advice like this, but you can also learn some moves in jiu-jitsu. There's some stuff that she will teach you that's very fun to watch, and your students are great. You do a wonderful job going through the moves, and I think making it very engaging for folks. So congratulations on everything, Jen, and we wish you the very best on Friday.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I will keep you posted.
Please do.
Wishing you the best.
Look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Love
it's been
you.
great to catch up. Love you. Mwah. I'll talk to you soon.
All things GenZ.com. Go get them, Jen.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Let's take a break here, and we're going to continue our conversation in just a moment. We've made so many great friends in Wisconsin, and Jerry Walsky wanted to make sure that we support our neighbors to the north. We're going to talk to Rochelle Gamoff, executive director and founder of Friends with Food, a food pantry serving the residents of southeastern Wisconsin. They serve over 300 families a week, and we want to see how we can help them. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal here in Chicago, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, hanging out with Dan Schaefer. Find Tuesday with Josie wherever you find your podcasts. More after this with me, Patti Vasquez.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, joined in studio by Dan Schaefer, guest co-hosting with me. You can catch his podcast Tuesday with Josie wherever you find your podcasts. And as I mentioned before the break, we spent a lot of time in Wisconsin over the last few months, actually since last year, helping out our neighbors to the north. And so we wanted to make sure that we talked to some folks who are doing the work of serving our neighbors to the north. Joining us on the line is Rochelle. Rochelle, how do I pronounce your last name, my friend? Gamoff. Thank you so much. It's Rochelle Gamoff, executive director and founder of Friends with Food, a nonprofit food pantry serving the residents of southeastern Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
Great. It's warmer weather today, so I'm extremely excited.
In Wisconsin, that says something, but yes.
It really does. I mean,
right?
So where are you from originally, Rochelle?
I'm Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Okay.
That's where we're based as well.
Okay. So tell me about the genesis of this organization, Friends with Food Wisconsin.
So I started off with this organization not anticipating having a nonprofit, but out of my need that I wasn't served. So everyone needs food at some time in their life. You never know when your time is. I had a health condition that basically took me out of real estate. I was a real estate agent for an entire year. And I, during the COVID time, March 13th, I made homemade spaghetti for 10 families that I didn't know on Facebook and delivered. And kind of fast forward today, we are at about 384 families that we serve all throughout southeast Wisconsin.
Wow.
So, basically what I've done is remove all the barriers to food insecurity, because I asked myself, why do we have barriers? Those barriers are, we don't see their ID. We don't see proof that they live in the house that they live in. We don't see proof that their kids live with them. We are just there to serve them. So with that being said, it's really, we kind of stripped, everything the traditional model had, and that's why we're kind of successful and we're growing at a rapid pace.
I'm kind of sad that that's the idea of the traditional model are like these agencies, the bureaucracy involved of proof of residency, proof of income, proof of dependence and things like that. Because look, hey, you know what? Even if someone doesn't need the food and they come for it, like there's going to be 20 other people that do. So are we going to drive those folks away because of the shame or the levels of red tape, right?
Absolutely. And, that being said, when you strip the barriers, you lose out on government funding. So we don't get any government or state funding to operate our facility the way it is. So,
really?
You kind of have, once you have the restrictions in there from the, then you have to have those restrictions of who receives your food. And our number one source is Feeding America, and they do not require us to get that information. We get general information, so we know who we're serving. And as you mentioned, 92% of our audience does qualify for SNAP benefits. So it's the 8%. And what happens if you're just right at that level or slightly above? I just felt like that was a big kind of red flag. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely, my time of need, I couldn't even walk through a food pantry because it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of admitting that, your circumstances and, people always say like somebody else needs it more than I do. I'm like, no, if it pays your rent, if it pays your utility bill, you can come in, Yeah. So with that is just, a great environment, and it's a non-judgmental environment as well that we created.
I love that. I really do. And I think that, when somebody is in a time of crisis, we don't want this to be an additional factor of being able to simply survive and eat. Right?
Right. It's a basic need. Food is a basic need. And, like overseas, it seems like we're giving out food all over the place. And here it's like, why would we have so many restrictions on things? So, I like to say that, I want to just briefly talk about a family that called me, and it was a mother, that had a young daughter. She's working full and part-time work, and she's still struggling to make ends meet. And she's slightly above that limit, but, she doesn't have another income to go off of. And when she came into our facility, she said, she was reluctant at first, and she walked through the doors, and her daughter came through, and they were met with like joy, laughter. Oh. They were met with a good laugh, and that's what people need. We need more of that. We need more of that human positivity going through our communities. So that's what we created at Friends with Food.
Well, it's like, Rochelle, so talking about politics, you had the welfare queen that Reagan coined the term for that. Yeah. And people were ashamed to go and just get food that they needed, and they weren't buying steaks. They weren't buying, they were just getting, and then the WIC program and other sorts of subsidies that are available. People need these subsidies or need the support. Are you finding, do you guys run out of supplies before you can actually meet the needs of the community?
Absolutely. So from last year to this year, Wisconsin lost all of their state budget for purchasing food from Feeding America and Hunger Task Force. I don't understand why or how or why this. So they used to be able to purchase food for us, and in addition to the food that is donated. So in turn, our pantries, like here in Wisconsin, had to go ahead and, purchase more equipment so that we could rescue the food. So we're doing everything that we can. Yeah. However, the holidays have really been hard on us because we didn't have any turkeys or hams to give out. Mm-hmm. That entire budget was cut.
Oh no.
And you would think this is the holidays, you should be able to give a turkey or ham to somebody. We can't even give turkey or ham or the fixings because we don't have that. And so we're doing everything in our power to, rescue more food, but you got increased demand and you got decreased of food. So how do you balance that, right?
Wow. That's insane that they just dropped all the funding for that. And I know that the folks, do a lot of work lobbying and trying to find that fund. I mean, the thing is, folks, Wisconsin is operating at a budget surplus. Mm-hmm.
Thanks to their governor.
And so we're not going to put Rochelle on the spot on that.
Oh, yes.
Yes. That's not what we're talking about. So how can we support the work that you do? Because we have a lot of listeners that are close to the area that you serve, as well as many listeners in Wisconsin. How can we help?
And there's the other Dan Schaefer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We always need volunteers. We always look for our corporations to help sponsor our events that we have, because that's truly how we keep our doors open, is donations by individuals and corporations. We need people's time. You know, if you want to invest back into the community, get involved. I mean, there's rescue opportunities. There's just so many, even at a corporate level. I mean, we need help with, you know, our mission and just carrying it out. Right now it's just myself, and I have a part-time person. So we did last year over 1 million pounds of food that we distributed just with 2 employees. So can you just imagine what we could do with more funding? We could employ more people, you know, and just really serve more community members that are in need. And you talk about Waukesha. I mean, 72% of our audience does come from Waukesha County, which is one of the richest counties in our area. Mm-hmm. So that tells you a lot about where the need is and how people are, you know, putting their groceries on credit cards just to make it by right now.
Are there? Oh, sorry.
You know. You go.
Okay. Sorry. Are there like places like Woodman's, who is a really large presence in the state of Wisconsin, or other large grocery stores that are being like available to provide things like this to help you guys meet your goals, or are you needing a push?
Right now, there's only so many places that we can rescue. So what Feeding America does is they hook us up with the Women's and the Pick and Saves and the Metro Markets out there. Okay. And we go and we rescue food and we weigh it.
You have to get it and you have to bring it.
We have to get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So our costs have gone up a lot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just within the last year, I mean, because the cost of rescuing food, you got the box truck, you got a forklift, you got things to rescue the food. So our expenses have increased dramatically. But they already have, you know, like these stores already have contracts, or most of them already do. So we can't really get into more stores. So that's not really an option. I mean, some of the pantries do have money and funds to purchase items like, we're in the dairy state, right? Mm-hmm. Eggs and your milk and, you know, the basic things like butter. If we only receive milk once a month, and that's if we're lucky. So cheese, like I don't really get regular cheese. I get more like processed things. And so we want to be able to have connections as well, you know, that we can outsource things, but we also need funding to do that as well, because it costs money. You know, they're looking for, you know, maybe at a cheaper cost, maybe we could purchase food, but right now our budget does not allow us to do that because we're operating, you know, a bare minimum right now.
And especially around the holidays, as we were chatting about, the best ways that folks can get stuff to you, is it, I mean, I can literally load up my Suburban and drive a bunch of milk up to you. And it'd be, you know, like probably in the most like ideal situation, but like the best ways that we can just
Is it better for us to donate money?
Yeah.
Is it better for us to donate money than to you know, donate goods?
Right.
So you can buy them locally.
Yes. I mean, for the people that are not, you know, located around Waukesha area, yes, you can go to our website, which is friendswithfoodwi.org. Or if you wish to donate, you know, items to us, we accept donations all the time. Plus, and I want to kind of stress this, we do take things past the use-by date. It's not an expired date, but past that date, And that's usually what food rescue is. We're rescuing food after the stores cannot sell it any longer. So it would be sure nice to purchase things and have milk not expire the day you get it. So, there's so many avenues that we can help, or people can help us. They can, go on our website. They can go on our Facebook as well as just friendswithfoodwi.org.
And I know you have a rock event coming up on February 1st of next year. Tell us a little bit about that event and how people can buy tickets and what they have in store.
Actually, we're working on our ticket sales right now. Okay. We're having it at Smoke on the Water, which is in Akachi. And we always label our events something with friends just to keep it, just keep it fun, right? Yep. So we have a band, and we're going to have music there. We're looking for donation raffle items, things like that for that event. Because, again, how we keep our doors open and how we serve our community members is really the events that we have.
Well, if you have any interest, I've been a stand-up comic for most of my life, actually now more than my life, more than half my life. I would love to put together possibly a comedy event in benefit of your organization.
I'll come with.
If you would be interested.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, definitely. I would take you up on that.
All right. Jerry's got your information. He has my information. Let's work on something. I've got some great comics that would love to come in and do everything we can to support the wonderful work that you do. Again, Rochelle, thank you so much for really making sure that people in southeastern Wisconsin have the opportunity to, feel whole. I mean, that's what you mentioned this earlier, that this came from the experience you had when you were not well. A lot of folks, it's hard because people will say, what can I do for you? Rather than kind of taking the initiative, buying groceries for somebody, helping with their lawn care, just coming over and mowing the lawn, or sending a gift card for laundry. People don't realize asking someone, what do you need, is sometimes hard. Don't you think, Rochelle? You're like, I don't even know because I can't think right now.
Yeah, and somebody always needs it more than I do, right?
Yes, right.
That's what you constantly hear is like, my cupboard is bare, but somebody else needs the food more. I'm like, no, you need it. Yeah. Come and see us. We'll take care of you. So, and that's why we called us Friends with Food, because, friends come before food. And that is our whole mission.
Wonderful, Rochelle. Thank you for all the great work you do. And I look forward to collaborating with you in the future. Again, it's friendswithfoodwi.org, friendswithfoodwi.org. And we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you so much, Rochelle.
Thank you for having me, Patty.
Nice chatting you.
Talk to you again soon. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, just folks, again, as where this came from was from her own personal experience. I think you all know that. I had somebody in my life, and I don't want to say who because my husband will be mad at me because it was somebody from his family. They're like, you never told us what you needed. I'm like, don't make me work more than the crisis I'm in. And that's why friends with food, friends come first. And so it's like, do the things that you can.
Sounds like a really good group.
Yeah, it sounds like a great group. So let's take a break here, and we'll wrap up in just a moment with WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. I'm in studio with Dan Schaefer, the host of Tuesdays with Josie, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's wrap up. And to that, on Richard Chu's Views tomorrow, Richard Chu will be taking your calls and talking about the Equal Rights Amendment with Alyssa Jacobson. Chu's Views, weekdays from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. right here on WCPT. And Joan will be taking your calls and talking to William Campbell, host of Here's How. I feel like I should do an Irish accent for this. Here's How, Ireland's political, social, and current affairs podcast. No, it's terrible.
That's pretty good.
I apologize.
Wasn't terrible.
But, tune in for that conversation tomorrow. Of course, Joan on live, local, and progressive weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. And every one of our shows are podcasts, including my very own Driving It Home. You actually have 2 Driving It Home full episodes and Driving It Home featured interviews. You can subscribe to one or both. The podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, all the things, YouTube. I'm on YouTube. Am I on YouTube? I didn't even. Oh, I
think you.
All right, then.
You are actually.
So,
yeah.
or heartlandsignal.com. Just click on my photo, and you can subscribe to, share, and rate the podcast. So thank you so much for that. All right, Dan. Dan wants to get in a Suburban and drive food up to
I'm
Waukesha.
willing to bring all the food up there. That was such a cool interview, and they are doing all the good things.
Then go on up. If you have friends up there too, you want to visit one. I love going up to Wisconsin. You know, I'm a dork for Wisconsin.
It was well, your husband and I went to the same college. He more bravely than I did.
How I more brave? Oh yes, that's true. Yes, not a straight white dude. Yes, more bravely than you did.
Okay,
yes.
I love St. Norbert. It's the coolest place.
He did not. Here's funny. What's funny is that you said more bravely than you, and yet he hated it.
No, I said
more
briefly.
More briefly.
Because he was only there for not even the year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he hated it.
I still love Steve, and that's cool.
He hated it,
and I loved it. But that's fine.
But it wasn't his choice. Like he kind of was pressured by his parents. I'm just saying he was pressured by his parents who wanted him to figure his life out rather than giving him. But sorry, Steve, your parents were magnificent. I will attest to that. It just wasn't his choice.
That's fine.
I'm just saying.
That's good. Yeah.
What did you like about it?
The community. I loved it. Okay. I have 3 of my absolute best friends are from there. We've had a BFF Facebook group text group since 2009.
And
the 3 of us.
Here's the thing, though, because your politics have changed since you went to St. Norbert's. Do you think you would have the same experience now as a liberal?
Yeah, actually, I think I would. Okay. Because also 2 of my favorite teachers are, Is it a Jesuit school? Norbertines, so it's technically still Christianic, but Norbertines, they've got a place on the south side of Chicago. Right, because we think of Catholics as being conservatives, but my husband's family were all pro-choice, pro-LGBTQ+. So it's a healthy mix, but I never felt unwelcomed there at all. It was my happy place. I love going up there. That's cool. Yeah. Sorry, Steve. I was the same way in Champaign-Urbana. I loved the University of Illinois. Yeah. Loved it. Broke me for life. Like nothing else was as much fun and as enjoyable and safe and enriching and just submerged in this culture of theater and literature and great conversations and stuff. Yeah. Did you see Wicked, by the way? No. You should. Okay. I was just there last night in Oak Park. It was Was it 3 hours? How long is it? It's only 2 hours. It's not that bad. No, it's longer than 2 hours. Like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Okay, maybe. And it's part 1. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. Well, I've seen it 6 times on Broadway. So okay. On Broadway or? Gay. Typical gay. Yeah. All right, that's fine. It's so good. I recommend it. All right. Let me up. Well, I'll go with you. Okay. All right. My friend Heather wants to see it. Have you met Heather? I don't know if I have. All right, we'll figure it out. I know there's a lot of news going on in the world. We'll continue having these conversations every single day. I'm still trying to figure out what this is going to look like post January 20th as far as like what I feel like I need to structure the show more, like, have specific conversations about the climate, about healthcare, about women's, issues, LGBTQ+. I don't know. I mean, I was talking to someone today that, white guys, in labor and things like that who went toward Trump just don't like hearing that crap. Yeah. And so, but they're not listening to the station anyway. Yeah. So I'm at a crossroads of, the other thing someone told me the other day, they said, I'm the most bro girl they know. And I don't think that was flattering. Oh. Right? Own it. I don't see myself as a bro. I can go toe-to-toe in a conversation, and I ain't going to back down. I guess all right. Let's put it this way. I would never want to be with you in a bar fight. All right. If that's what that means, fair enough. You own it. You got it. I am not. But I will be here for every conversation for the next 4 years. All right. Because we're going to need it. Good golly. By the way, tomorrow is like all Wisconsin. It's we're gonna have the other Dan Schaefer will be on tomorrow, and Ben Cominos will join us. So we'll have conversations with them, as well as Barbara Walter, who's a political scientist, author and professor of international affairs at the School of Global Policy and Strategy at the University of California. She has written the book How Civil War Started. I'm sure we're fine. Thank you so much, Paul Shavari. Thanks, Paul. Have a great night, Paul. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Take care.